Your child comes home from school, drops their backpack by the door, and heads straight to their room. No snack, no story about their day, just silence. You ask what's wrong. They shrug. You press a little. Finally, it comes out. Someone's been calling them names, taking their things, making them feel small. Your instinct kicks in immediately. Tell a teacher, just ignore them, stand up for yourself. But here's what most parents don't realize that advice, the same advice we all heard growing up, is exactly why bullying persists. Because we're trying to solve a social problem with adult logic, and your child's brain doesn't work that way yet. But there's something that does work, something behavioral psychologists discovered by studying not what stops bullies, but what makes certain kids untouchable in the first place. And you can teach it to your child tonight in about 11 minutes. Most parents panic when they hear their child is being targeted, and that panic leads to one of three responses. You tell them to ignore it, hoping the bully will lose interest. You tell them to fight back, hoping aggression will solve aggression. Or you intervene directly, hoping your presence will protect them. Here's the problem with all three. Ignoring teaches your child that their feelings don't matter. Fighting back gets them in trouble and rarely stops the pattern, and intervening, while sometimes necessary, doesn't build the internal skills they need when you're not there. So, what actually works? Researchers studying peer dynamics found that bullies don't target randomly. They're looking for specific signals. Kids who seem uncertain, kids who react emotionally, kids who don't know how to hold their ground without escalating. Think of it like this: a bully is testing. They're looking for the path of least resistance, the child who gives them the biggest emotional payoff with the smallest effort. Your child doesn't need to be tougher, they need to be boring. And boring, it turns out, is a skill you can teach. Here's what happens in your child's brain when someone says something cruel. The words hit. Their nervous system reacts: fight, flight, or freeze. And in that split second, they make a decision about what those words mean. Most kids skip right past that evaluation step. They absorb the insult as fact and react from there. But what if we taught them to pause first? Here's the framework. It's called the filter method. And it works because it gives your child a mental process to follow when their emotions are running high. Step 1: teach them to sort truth from garbage. Start by explaining this at dinner tonight. When someone throws harsh words at you, those words don't automatically become reality just because they were spoken. Your child gets to decide what enters their thinking and what gets dismissed. Walk them through this process. When someone says something hurtful, pause for 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, ask internally, does this match what I know about myself? If the answer is no, the statement gets rejected. It's someone else's opinion, not a fact about who you are. Here's a real example. A classmate says, nobody wants to be your friend. Old response. The child believes it and feels devastated. New response. The child thinks for a moment. Wait, I ate lunch with 3 people yesterday. That statement doesn't match reality. Then they move on without carrying that weight. You're building a mental sorting system. True and useful information comes in, false and harmful statements get left behind. But knowing how to think differently is only half the equation, because bullies don't just listen to words, they read bodies, and your child's body is sending signals before they even open their mouth. Step 2: teach your child how to stand. This isn't about being big or intimidating. It's about being solid, grounded, present. Show them this tonight. Stand with feet shoulder width apart. Imagine roots growing from the bottom of your feet into the floor. Shoulders back, not hunched. Chin level, not looking down. And here's the part that changes everything for kids who struggle with eye contact. Don't look at their eyes, look at the space between their eyebrows. It feels like eye contact to the other person, but it's less intense for your child. One mother told me her daughter practiced this for 3 days, just standing grounded, looking at eyebrows instead of eyes. The next week, a kid who had been bothering her tried again. She just stood there, didn't move, didn't flinch. He said something, waited for a reaction, got nothing, and walked away. Hasn't tried since. Posture communicates safety. When your child looks solid, the bully's brain reads, "This won't be easy." And most bullies are looking for easy. Now we add the final piece, the tone. Step 3, develop the unimpressed response. Here's what typically happens. A bully says something provocative, your child either gets angry and snaps back, or they get hurt and their voice shakes. Both responses signal that the bully has power over their emotions. Instead, we're training a third option, complete neutrality, the kind of voice you'd use if someone told you the cafeteria is serving pizza today. No excitement, no upset, just acknowledgement without investment. Try this exercise tonight. Tell your child you're going to practice responses together. You'll say something meant to get a reaction, and they'll practice answering in the most uninterested tone possible. You say something like, that shirt doesn't match. They respond with a simple, sure, or if you say so. Keep practicing until their voice stays level and their face stays relaxed. When your child can maintain that tone even when their heart is pounding, they've just removed the bully's primary motivation. Here's what you need to prepare for. The first time your child uses this new approach, there's a good chance the bullying might actually intensify briefly. This happens because the bully is confused. Their usual tactic stopped producing results, so they try harder to get back what they had. Think of it like a vending machine. If you push the button and nothing comes out, you might push it several more times before giving up. That's what's happening here. This escalation usually lasts 1 to 3 days. If your child can maintain their calm response through that window, the bully typically moves on. But this is the moment when most kids abandon the strategy. Prepare your child ahead of time. Tell them if this person tries even harder at first, that actually means you're doing it right. Stay steady. Now, let me give you 3 simple scripts your child can use when the words actually come. Script 1. When someone insults them, bully says, "You're annoying." Your child responds, "Why do you think that?" Calm, curious, not defensive. This flips the script. Now the bully has to explain themselves, and most can't. Cruelty doesn't usually have good reasoning behind it. Script 2. When someone mocks something about them, bully says, "Your backpack is ugly." Your child responds, "Maybe," completely unbothered. Walks away, the bully is left with nothing to push against. Agreement without emotion removes the fight. Script 3, when it needs a clear boundary. Bully says something threatening or targets who they are. Your child responds clearly and audibly, "That's not okay, I'm asking you to stop." This response draws a clear line. Anyone nearby becomes a witness. The bully can't later claim they didn't know their behavior was unwanted. And your child practices using their voice to set limits. Work through each of these 3 scripts this week. Have your child try different versions and see which language feels most natural. Once they pick their preferred phrasing, practice it repeatedly so it becomes second nature. But here's the foundation that makes all of this possible. These techniques only function when your child already feels comfortable advocating for themselves in safer environments. Real assertiveness doesn't suddenly appear in high pressure situations. It gets built gradually through everyday practice at home. Consider whether your child can currently disagree with family members without being dismissed. Can they say they need space without pushback? Can they voice preferences that differ from yours without immediate correction? These small daily interactions form the training ground. When children learn that their voice matters in low stakes moments, they carry that knowledge into harder situations. If your child can't comfortably say, "I'm not ready to talk about this yet," to you, how will they set boundaries with peers? If declining participation in a family activity leads to lengthy negotiations or guilt, they're learning that saying no comes with too high a cost. Start creating space for appropriate disagreement at home. Let them practice phrases like, I see it differently, or I'd prefer not to. Make sure these statements don't automatically lead to consequences. You're not raising children who never listen. You're raising children who know their perspective has value. Now, one critical distinction: this method builds resilience. It teaches your child to handle social friction, insults, teasing, the everyday cruelty of childhood. But it's not a replacement for adult intervention when safety is at risk. If there are threats of physical harm, if this is repetitive and targeted, if your child shows signs of real distress like withdrawal, nightmares, or refusal to go to school, you step in, you document, you contact the school, you become their shield when protection is needed. Picture how this plays out in real time. Your child is walking to class. Someone makes a cutting remark. In that moment, everything you've practiced together comes online. They've learned to evaluate whether the statement deserves their attention. They've trained their body to stay anchored instead of retreating. They've rehearsed keeping their voice steady regardless of what they're feeling inside. So instead of internalizing cruelty, they assess it. Instead of making themselves smaller, they hold their space. Instead of carrying that interaction around all day, they release it and keep moving. Tonight, practice one thing: the stance, the eyebrow trick, or one script, just one, and let your child lead. Ask them which feels most natural, because this isn't about controlling how they respond. It's about giving them a framework when they don't know what to do. Drop a comment and tell me which script you're practicing first. And if you've seen this work with your own child, share the story. Other parents need to hear it.